Hi, friends. My apologies in advance if you hear a humming in the background is because I have the AC running. It is extraordinarily hot today and I couldn't survive filming this video without some relief. Thank you so much for understanding. You're probably like, how in the world did you manage to not buy fall romance yet? For the last 6 months or so, I have significantly adjusted my makeup budget because my food budget is a little more, who am I kidding? A lot more of a priority now, and I've been practicing more discernment in my makeup purchasing. I stopped buying skincare because I am on a skin sobering journey, and when I saw ABH's Fall Romance, just the cover or the sneak peek of it, I actually became quite excited because I think at that time, maybe a few weeks prior, I had uploaded my favorite autumn palettes, and for my close friends membership, I did a autumn look, which, oh my gosh, I still have to upload. I just reminded myself. So when I saw Anastasia's sneak peek for their next palette and it being called Fall Romance, I was excited. And then I saw the photos. The first photo I saw was on Trend Mood's page, and it's because I think they were including the palette in their next Trend Mood box. And for some reason, I wasn't blown away. I wasn't like, it was pretty, but there was something about the color arrangement, and I think it's because of that magenta shade, which I believe is called, let me see here, the Divine shade. I'm on the ABH, yes, the Divine shade. I felt like it threw the entire color story off, but when I saw other photos with light hitting the shadows, it became more appealing to me. But one of my subscribers and eyeshadow bays, Jana, hi, was comparing this palette, specifically the mattes, to Viseart's Dark Matte, and I was like, you right. And then I started going into this deep hole of different eyeshadow palettes that I have that resemble the ones existing in Fall Romance, and today it is now September 9th. This palette dropped on the 7th, and I have not purchased it yet, because I did purchase the new Hourglass palette, and you're like, you're out of your mind. Why are you buying a palette that has like similar shades from the previously purchased Hourglass palettes from last year's holiday? I get what you're saying. I'm trying to break the cycle of me buying eyeshadow palettes. So I'm trying to pick my battles one at a time. I'm a sucker for eyeshadow palettes. I am a sucker for face palettes, right? So yes, I gave in to the Hourglass one. I ordered the custom Owl Compact with palette 3 because the palette 3 curation had 5 new shades out of 6, whereas the palette 2 had 1 new shade, and I think palette 1, which is the lightest, had 2 new shades. I'm like, there's no way I'm spending $90 for just 1 new shade. Absolutely not. So I opted for palette 3 in the Owl Compact. Delivery says it's on its way, but not until the 13th. I'm like, excuse me? Anyway, first world problems. So because I bought the Hourglass palette and I just purchased the Sophia and Hollow Taco collab, something had to give, and I decided to not buy the Anastasia palette. I am well aware it is limited edition. Might I have subculture FOMO? Maybe. I don't, because I have subculture, but I'm not sure if it's going to have the same impact as subculture, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's going to be limited edition forever, but when I saw the colors, I realized these are several colors that I have already, and we discussed that many times. Palettes that release, we say we have these shades, but then I started thinking, where are these shades in my collection? So I had pulled out a few palettes that I think have similar shades that are included in Fall Romance, and I just wanted to share those with you on this video and maybe do 1 or 2 looks. Shout out to Patty Alonso, who received this palette in advance because she is on the ABH PR list, and I love watching her videos because Patty has extraordinary eyeshadow application abilities, and I actually used her video as reference just to also get an idea of the colors here. I am on the ABH product page where we have the color descriptions, so I'll have the image of the palette up next to me while going through these colors, because maybe you could drop down in the comments below duplicates from other brands and palettes, because, you know, I'm trying to rack my brain as best as possible, but sometimes I'll miss one. Or several, you know what I'm saying? I also have the Chanel blush on, the Equinox one. I finally received the Mauve Rose colorway. It's so pretty. I'll have a short up using the blush so you can see it in action, but didn't want to dedicate an entire video since the Chanel Equinox blush train has long left, right? Since this released like a month ago or so, I decided to just then focus on Fall Romance. Even though I didn't purchase it, we could definitely provide the Fall Romance vibes, you know what I'm saying? So showing dark mattes, I immediately thought of Koi, and I don't have Koyish. There are a few shades in Koyish that resemble a few that exist in Fall Romance, but this is the original Koi palette. I do have the petite version, which I love the design for. You have like this scale design, and of course it's the same shadows but in smaller pans. I haven't touched this yet, but this is fantastic for travel. I also have Le Marais, which is one of their Attendu curations. One of these, I think it's this color here, that kind of reminded me of Mulberry. No. Midnight, which is a metallic smoky purple with sparkling reflex. So Midnight was giving me that type of a vibe. I also have Natasha's Lila palette because Divine reminded me of this shade here as well as this shade, because those are the magenta choices we have from Lila, as well as Midnight. This could be a Midnight moment. This might be a little too plummy for Midnight, but I have this on standby. They don't have like the winter greens, the taupe, and the whatevers, but that's why we have the Dark Edit. Dark Edit is one of my most favorite edit curations from Viseart. I think this is also an exceptional fall palette. My apologies for not including this on the original list. I also have Milieu, which runs a little warm, but you have like the plummy moments in here in terms of the matte. You have a matte magenta shade, this more vibrant blue, but you see the neutral browns run more warm yellow, where in the dark matte curation, it's a little more neutral, right? So you have the green, you got the navy, you got the taupe, you have the warmer shades here, the more violet or eggplant purple with the more reddish plummy purple, a more neutral beige, a more taupey beige. So that kind of takes care, I think, of the matte inclusions. There are some mattes here that have the sparkles, which sometimes Anastasia does. I have Rose Metals on standby, which, you know, between Art Nouveau and Rose Metals, those are standing out to me. I did not buy Cosmos either because I felt it was more of a supplement palette, where that's why in place of that I bought Izamea's Industrial 2.0, which I think if you're going full force with the duochromes and the ultra shine metallics, to just apply those on your lids, and I feel they leave exceptional finishes, and to not have mattes, right? Just don't include the mattes at all. That was my gripe with Cosmos. But Rose Metals, for me aesthetically, holds my interest more. I don't know what it is, but I just wanted to give an example. Sunrose, one of the mattes or matte formulas that have the sparkles in there, which don't translate on the lids. I feel when you blend out the shade, you mostly see the matte finish and the color, right? There's really no sparkle left behind. But I wanted to just have this on standby for reference. And also Yucca. Yucca has a shade in here, Plantasia, which I feel kind of mimics, I believe they call it a smoke metallic. Is a silverish taupe with green gold reflex. That's the first shade on the palette, and I feel that's Plantasia. Maybe not as gold in terms of the flip, but the teal duochrome whatever is in there, I feel. Let's get into some of these comparison swatches, and I think it's time for you to come in a little closer. That's enough. All right, for smoke, I submit Plantasia. It might not be exactly the same, but I wanted to begin with this shade. I mean, again, this is just beautifully shiny, and I feel we can kind of mimic the mood with Plantasia. Next up, we have Moonlight. Moonlight is basically this shade here from Viseart's Koi, and I wish I had, my goodness, what is the Koi-ish palette? That looks like Moonlight to me, and they describe it here on the Anastasia page. Whoa, that was loud thunder! A duochrome lavender with a sparkling pink opal shift. And there's another one that actually has that pink opal shift, right? So you could even layer these on top with one another. This shade here, I feel it doesn't have the gold or green gold reflect, but I feel it's a pretty taupe metallic. You know what I mean? Let me swatch it next to that opal shade. I feel this could be lovely all over the lid, even if it doesn't have that green gold flip. Maybe you could layer it with the Plantasia shade. I do feel the Koi-ish palette has something like what's described for Smoke Metallic. Oh man, I wish I had that freaking palette. Should have just bought it. I am on Viseart's PR list. A part of me waits until I receive a package instead of impulsively buying it. And I know by the time I receive it, it might be just off the radar for many people. But that's okay. I'll wait. I'll wait so I could save money for my bison. Next up, we have Fireside. Fireside is a metallic rosy copper with sparkling reflex. I think the Le Marais shade here could work, or even the bronze shade from Dark Edit, but we have to make a choice. So let me go in with Le Marais. I'm gonna swatch it here. This is more of a true metallic shade. Maybe, oh no! Ooh, I almost dropped Yucca. That would have been very bad. Maybe that's a little more warm. If it's rosy, maybe we could find it from Lila. Lila, I feel, has like that rosy copper moment. It could be this, which, this flap. Cyclone, Magnolia. Let's look at Cyclone. Ah, that might be a little better, but it runs very pink. That's okay. Divine is the duochrome vivid purple with a sparkling pink pearl shift. That is our fun shade, which that kind of exists in Dark Edit. This metallic here. Not sure if it will exhibit that same pink pearl flip, but I don't know. That looks pretty close to me. That's pretty. And next to Natasha's magenta shades, not going to have, surprisingly, the same shine that you find in Viseart. This is going to be a lot more muted, right? So I would stick to the Viseart one. If we hop back into Koi, this shade here, not as magenta leaning. I think this is more of a violet moment, but it still has beautiful sparkle, more like a royal purple. I think this is still the winner in terms of comparing something from Viseart to Divine. Next, we have Crown, a duochrome gold with a sparkling green blue shift. This might be a little tricky. Maybe this was my Plantasia dupe alternative. Let me do Plantasia again. We have Komorebi, but I think Komorebi is because of the green gold shift that I'm trying to capture here. Or what did it say? Yeah, the green blue shift. This doesn't have a green blue shift. I think it's more like a gold, because the flip is on the warmer side. I also have this color here, but not quite the same. This is more like a seafoam with a gold flip, right? Pretty, but not, definitely not what's found in Crown. I did think about, let me get it. I did think about gold. I feel perhaps this was closer related to Lime Chrome. Let me see, Lime Chrome from Natasha's gold palette. Maybe that's it. That's pretty. I think that would just look lovely on the lid, period. Ember is our matte toasted brown. So we're now into the matte shades. I'll use this arm for the matte shades. Matte toasted brown with fiery reflex. Again, don't really care about the fiery reflex. We can hop into dark matte. And this first brown here, I think an appropriate shade. Well, fiery, let me see. That looks more like a neutral. On the photo, well, Amber is giving me similar vibes, I gotta say. Maybe I'll run a little more brown? I don't know. Leather is a matte stone. What did I think about when I saw leather? Leather was a little tricky because it looked taupey, which originally I was going to match up with that shade, this shade that we just swatched, and maybe this would be the previous one, Ember. Leather to me is more just like, again, like a taupe moment. And even in dark matte, because you have this brown here with like the olive that has like a similar, that's a little more of a warmer brown. So if you could find your favorite taupey taupe shade, I'm thinking, well, the gold browns, I'm thinking this one here at the top, Aria. Aria is giving a little more mustard, I feel like. Well, that could, maybe not. That could work for stone. I'll take it. Thorns, a matte hunter green with sparkling reflex. That looks like a desaturated green. Kind of like reminds me of what's in retro glam, actually, like the sage greens, but probably I think more appropriate of a matchup found here in dark matte. And this is that green shade. This is beautiful. I think it's lovely. And right next to it, you have more of like a khaki olive matte that I think lovely. Right? It kind of appears a little brown. Maybe if on the eyes, it will translate more of a cool brown. Yeah, but if paired with that hunter green, or would you say forest green? Let me know down below. We have Crimson next, a deep or matte deep wine. Deep wine. Oh, please, this one here. I would consider that a deep wine. Again, straight out of dark mattes. That's lovely. I think that's gorgeous. It could also be this. This is a little more red leaning, but why not? We'll take a swatch, see what that does. Definitely more wine leaning. I think this is a more appropriate matchup to Crimson. Midnight, here we go. The metallic smoky purple. What seems to be, no, besides Fireside. So it looks like Fireside and Midnight are the designated metallic shades in fall romance. A metallic smoky purple with sparkling reflex. Again, I immediately thought from Leela. What do we have here in this last row? Livid. Livid, I think, could be a midnight moment. Should I go? No, I'll just continue on this arm. That's pretty. Shinier than that magenta shade we swatched on this arm. Le Marais, I feel, could be a substitute, or that shade here that I just pointed to. This might be a, oh yeah, that I think is a beautiful midnight shade. We'll stick with that for midnight. Mulberry, we have matte reddish brown with sparkling reflex. Let's take a look at the photo. Ooh, that's hard to tell. Mulberry. Reddish brown, reddish brown. Well, there are a lot of dark edit. I would consider that to be reddish brown. I mean, that's open for interpretation. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. Kind of close to what we swatched from Dark Edit. I think that could be a good substitute for Mulberry. On the photo, it looks quite corally, actually. I don't know. And the last one, we have Twilight, and that is a matte deep grayish green. Grayish green is tough. Grayish green, grayish green. Oh, let me see here, Yucca. I feel there's something in Yucca. Calathea. Calathea is a cream to powder, but I do enjoy the grayish. Of course, cream to powders are tough to swatch with your finger because over time they get squashed. But the deep grayish green description, I feel Calathea is kind of giving, you know what I mean? And I understand that the convenience of having all these shades in one palette is pretty much the point why people will buy the palette in the first place. Despite the fact that they own these shades in different palettes, I pulled from several. And will you have to pull out 10 palettes to create a fall romance look? Absolutely not. But I do think you can create fall romance moments with different palettes, even though all these shades that we just compared to us in fall romance might not be all in one place. And that's okay, you know what I mean? So let's take this time to create some fall romance moments. And I will prep the eyes with my Suku eye primer. I don't know if I've already or will decide if I want to upload my Utopian Dream video first. I filmed with Utopian Dream, did 6 looks because I was inspired. I won't say why. I'm gonna leave it to the video if I haven't uploaded it yet. This primer is great for color richness, of course, but not great if you need to even out the canvas of your lid, right? So if you are dealing with discoloration, combating any of that, Suku primer might not be the best. You'll have to rely on like a MAC paint pot that has pigment, and you would choose a shade that's closer to your lid skin tone, or even something slightly lighter that will bring a little more vibrancy to some colors if you need that to happen. All right, Patty, let me find your video. So she did 4 looks, and I love how she set this up, where Patty started out with daily looks that are like a little more low-key, and then she went on to layer from the palette how you could smoke it up and make it a little more glam. So the first eye she started with was the shade Leather, and on her it looks to be like a deeper brown than how it appears in Pants. So I'm gonna follow Patty's lead and go in with our dark matte shade. Let's pick a brush. Let's tap into this shade. Let's grab the mirror. And I'll start off with the crease, and then Patty went in with, I think it was Crown, that green reflex something, you know what I mean? Oh, this is so pretty already. This is why I had to hold myself back, because I knew when it comes to Viseart shadows, the blendability and ease is just across the board exceptional, especially for people who have a hard time with eyeshadow. I mean, practically foolproof. You can use any brush, and they often criticize Viseart shadows for not swatching well. Who cares, as long as they blend well on the eyes, because that is their final destination. Okay, but a little bit of that dryness I feel allows for a smoother blend on the eyes. You know what I'm saying? All right, Patty, what's next? Yes, Patty went in with Crown. This was the shade I had a hard time nailing, but I think we decided on, was it Lime Chrome or even Plantasia? I have gold here. I'm gonna do this shade. It doesn't have the shift, but we're gonna create the same vibe. Picking that up with my jumbo blender, because I do think it nice to have a high shine metallic against more of a neutral brown. So the difference is that you'll see a stronger green, or what was the shade description for Crown? A stronger chrome gold with the sparkling green blue shift. I could take a little bit of Lime Chrome and just pop it right at the center. You know what I mean? So I could kind of shift the color a little bit. So I did place that more taupe shine, but just so that we can get something similar. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like that brightness that sits well with the more neutral shade that I think is fitting. All right, that's pretty. I like that. I think, yeah, that's really nice. You know what I mean? Patty went in with a shader brush to just kind of clean that up. We could follow suit, you know, to round it off like this. She took some Leather on the lower lash line. Oh no, I missed it. What did she put on? She's starting the second eye. What are we applying? Going in with Thorns. When she applies Thorns, it applies a little more grayish, don't you think? So we could go in with the more green leaning matte, or we could go in with Calathea. Cause again, what is it? Hunter green? Thorns? Hunter green with sparkling reflex? I'm down with that. I'm down with that. So because this is a cream to powder shade, I will take Sonia's Fusion. I'm going to pick up Calathea. I'm trying to be as quiet as possible as I place my palettes down because I have so many in front of me. So we're first setting up the crease with Calathea. Although I use Calathea for our Twilight shade, is okay. This definitely shows up a little more green than it does on Patty, but it's fine. I'm building this up slowly because this is a cream to powder. It doesn't have as much pigment initially like the mattes do. So you just have to take your time in building the intensity, yeah? But I think this is a nice setup for the next shade. Although, again, this is more color specific. I think when Thorns is applied on the lid, it looks a little more gray neutral. It doesn't have, or that Hunter green, I feel, on Patty anyway, doesn't translate the same. So maybe it could, I'm going to invite a little bit of this shade from Dark Matte. I feel that's going to just shift the mood a little bit and give us more of a neutral moment versus the green hue that's pulling forward, you know what I mean? Well, that kind of looks like a gradient, but it's fine. That shade's pretty. I like it. We're gonna keep going. Next, we went in with Smoke Metallic. Smoke Metallic, again, I originally said Plantasia, but it could also have been this shade here from Koi, which is what I applied on the first eye. You know what? Let me do Plantasia, because when Patty applies it, it translates more of like that taupe. You know what I mean? And the Plantasia shade doesn't have the same taupe. I gotta find, wait a minute. I think I want to do Sparks from Gold. I'm gonna do Sparks from Gold. Oh, that's pretty. What do you think the next Natasha midi should be? It will be killer if she did a midi Lila. That is my vote. I am partial because Lila is one of my all-time favorite Natasha palettes. But Sparks is quite nice here on the lid, on top of Calathea, and a little bit of that khaki matte shade from Dark Mattes. We're getting the shine. We're getting the shine. It's there. Shiny. I think Patty went in with like a copper. No. Did she use the same? Yes. Fireside, the rosy shade on the inner arc. Well, if we wanted to go rosy, we have several ways. This, I feel, no, it was from Lila, I think. Yeah? Let's pull in this shade here from Lila on the inner arc Cyclone. I'll take my shader brush here, and maybe I should take a smaller brush, but it's okay. I'll gently overlap this shade with Sparks. I think this is an interesting combination. Oh, that's pretty. Perhaps Cyclone is reading a little more plum than Rosy Copper, you know what I'm saying? But it's okay. I think the feel is similar. It looks quite contrasting, but I'll apply the color underneath. I think that's going to, there we go, just give it a little more brightness. So as reference, if you are following along with 20 palettes in front of you, I applied the shade underneath Cyclone, and that is the shade Magnolia. I think Magnolia is giving a little more brightness, which I think more appropriate to be placed here on the inner arc of the eye, since it does pull into the inner corner and we don't want to make that portion of the inner lid shaded, right? So we did eye number 2, but let's complete it. We did not completely finish. I gotta pull in some Calathea, or I could just use this shade. I could use Calathea or the Dark Matte shade for the lower lash line. to wrap it down, right? So it could appear more enveloped. And I'm cleaning up my wing here, just like that outer blend that extends out from the lash line. Yeah. That's pretty. And now we're adding on, following Patty's lead, what can we do to smoke this up, right? So these are kind of like our daily friendly looks from Fall Romance. Now I think it's time for us to maybe apply something on the outer lid using a different shade. We're going into Crimson. Crimson, I think we decided on this shade. Again, Crimson is our matte deep wine, and that is what we shall do. Let me take my Tuckahoe brush. I know better, because if I went in with this brush, I think it will place a little too much, and we want to control the intensity of this matte, because it's a Viseart matte, okay? It's gonna give us a lot. You know what? Let's take this Refer brush. It's a domed brush, because I'll be able to precisely punch in on the outer corner with a little more precision. And that's gonna give us some color quickly, my goodness. Gently shading over the border of Sparks and a little bit of, I forgot what else I applied. No, yeah, Sparks, Lime Chrome. Sparks was on this side. I forgot what I did on this side. It will all be in the description box. Shading a little bit through the crease here and pulling it out from the lash line. Ooh, that's pretty. Why don't I use dark mattes more often? Shame on me. This is why I held back. I did from buying Fall Romance, because I knew better. I knew better. I know this is not going to be exactly the same, but I'm totally fine. It's a little hard for me, fam, because you know how much I love eyeshadow palettes. I'm just trying to take on a different route. You know, resist the urge to get something because it's an eyeshadow palette, because it is limited edition. If I would have been sent it, I 100% would have used it for sure. But, you know, because I'm trying to make choices here, I decided to skip on it for now. But, you know, I might change my mind if I see it in store. Can't guarantee if this decision will stick forever. I do think that's a lovely combination. The mulberry wine with a more taupey brown. You can never go wrong with that combination. I think quite lovely when you have like this taupe shiny shade with the green blue shift on the lid. It's a pretty combination. And I think Viseart mattes are superior to ABH ones in terms of the blend, just the ease, you know, not to shade them, but from my experience, and the ABH mattes have gotten better. Viseart still reigns supreme in my eyes. Patty went in with Divine now. She decided to place it here on the border between the wine shade and the taupey duochrome shade. So I will go in with this metallic found in dark matte, and she went in with her finger, but I'll take this dome brush again and place it on the border between the matte and the sparkly shade. Now this, I don't think has the same pink shift as the one in ABH does, but what a lovely combination. If you gently bring in this magenta metallic, pulling it from the wine matte, and I do think it enhances the color of this matte, it's quite lovely with that green blue shift. Yeah, that's pretty. I like that. Nice move, Patty. And we're just pulling it here through the crease to make sure everything is smooth. Taking my mini booster because it's a longer bristled brush, right? It's gonna have more movement, so I just need that blend there. Oh, that's pretty. Now again, the difference, I think, if you do buy Fall Romance, that is gonna have a stronger pink shift because technically it is a duochrome, but I do just like the metallic base of that color. Ooh, okay, darkening up the outer lid with Twilight. That is the matte deep grayish green, which I originally equated with Calathea, but we placed Calathea through the crease, so that means we could go in with Charmeleau Darker. And I'm thinking this. I don't know if it's gonna look the same. I believe it will translate more green, if I'm being honest, just by my prediction. But let's hop into this, taking the same Dome Refer brush, and we'll carefully tap here. Yeah, for sure. Because on Patty's eye, it appears more grayish. It doesn't actually look green. Or does it? Whoa. Whoa. Yeah, Twilight is not giving the same green vibes. At all. Wait, I totally shifted the eye. I'm so sorry. But it's okay. I mean, if you prefer Twilight to be more green anyway, and you have dark matte, you can use this color instead. I'm laughing because, my goodness, this palette is old. It is old and it is still giving. What can I do though to adjust the shade a little bit? I feel like perhaps I can go in with either Flax or this dark brown from Gold, because I think something needs to... I'm just tapping the brown on top of the green to maybe kind of shift. I don't think that did anything. This Viseart green just swallowed the heck up out of that brown. It's like, oh, you think you want to make an adjustments here? No. I understand. I step back from that task. I should know better. It's fine. Mulberry. Patty moved Mulberry. The reddish brown with sparkling. She placed it on the border here. Interesting move. What do we say that Mulberry was? I think we decided on one of these dark edit mattes. So let me place... I'm gonna do this and carefully tap on the border. It's not going to be insane. I'm just, you know. That's a nice transition. It works because the flip color kind of matches what this dark edit matte is giving. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's not out of place. I feel like we went out of control with this green, man. I mean, what is happening? I'm trying to just tap down the blend here because, my goodness, I underestimated that matte. Is laughing at me. I'm gonna go in with the Moonlit shade here on the inner corner, and again, that is found in the Koi palette. Let's pick up our shader here and place Moonlit on the inner corner as well as the lower inner part of the eye. And on this side, we already have this copper thing going on. So let's place something else on the lower inner lash line. Picking up my Refer 3, and I think this duochrome shade quite pretty. It doesn't exist in Fall Romance, but I do think it a nice touch, right? It's just kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, why are you here? It's fine. Everyone, get along. Placing that on the lower inner lash line. I do like the rose copper moment on the inner corner. I think it quite pretty. We can brighten it up a little bit more, I think, by inviting this shade from Koi. It is a duochrome. It's like a pinkish type of a duochrome. You know what I mean? Placing some on top. Yes, I think that's going to brighten it up a bit. And also, I want to go back and apply a little bit more of the original. I forgot what I placed on this eye. I totally forgot. It was either from Gold or from Koi. I don't remember. I think it was Sparks. Was it Sparks? I like Sparks because it has more shine. You know what I mean? And then I would like to clean up what's happening here on the inner part of the eye. We got Calathea going on, and then we applied that rose copper shade. You know what I mean? And let's clean up what I applied here on the lower inner lash line. Also want to place a little more of that green matte on the outer part of the eye. The Moonlight shade here. Not the actual Moonlight shade. This is from Koi. Just want to make that clear. Ooh, and how about this pink opal shift here? I already placed the Koi shade, but just to give a little more brightness, That's pretty. All right, it's time to apply some lashes and I'll be right back. And here are our final looks with our fall romance attempt. I really love the look that Patty had put together on her ABH video, and following suit, I think, you know, it kind of showed the fact that I can create a similar vibe looks with the shades that I already have. And this is the first time I'm actually doing this, because hypothetically every time a new palette arrives, I think the same and say I have these shades, but I actually never dug into my collection, gathered the palettes and the eyeshadows to create the looks that hypothetically would come from Fall Romance. As an example, this example, if I had purchased it. And I know myself, when if I see it in person, that's when I'm wooed. And I swatch everything, it's beautiful, it's sparkly. But at the end of the day, I haven't been using rose metals, I haven't been using Art Nouveau, and I love those palettes. I feel Fall Romance will meet a similar fate, and I don't want that to happen to the palette. And I discovered for myself through this demo that if I wanted a fall romance moment, if I wanted to create these shades, if what have you, for looking at everything, trying to get my thoughts together, looking at everything, if you wanted to have a fall romance moment, I think the dark edit is just, it's not fall romance, but it kind of reminds me of the palette in terms of the vibe. This is one of my all-time favorite Viseart edits from everything that they have released. Just stunning. If you wanted to do a little palette combination, I truly think if you combine dark matte with coy and coyish, there are a lot of fall romance moments in that trio. And again, you can pop these out, right? You have grooves along the frame. They are magnetic. You could create your own Viseart fall romance palette. Maybe if I do pick up coyish, but I do love the edit version because I already have the edit versions for dark mattes and koi. If I pick up coyish, then I can arrange these, since these are also magnetic as well. I could arrange them to give a fall romance moment. 100%. Let me know, fam, down below what your suggestions are, if there are any other duplicate alternatives I miss in creating this palette alternative Twilight Zone video for fall romance. I would love to know down below, and I'll see you down in those comments. And until then, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, or maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I will see you in here again with another review, tutorial, makeshift eyeshadow palette video, or I'll see you over on my membership channel where I have exclusive content, including lives. Take care, and I will see you again soon.